After 10 years together, I became the hard-to-shake-off hag in Baishu's friends' gossip. Baishu said if he'd known it'd come to this, he'd rather have been the one hit by that car. Little did he know, I'd long regretted saving him too. Seeing our rare agreement, fate rewound us to 1 minute before the accident. Baishu finally got his wish, no longer burdened by my kindness. I stared at him in confusion. You got what you wanted. So why the tears? In the blink of an eye, I was transported back 10 years. I gazed at Baishu before me with sudden clarity. At this moment, he lacked the commanding presence of a successful man, his handsome face still carrying a touch of youthful innocence. Neither confidence nor indifference could be found in him. Just a second ago, I was violently hitting him and his female assistant in a frenzy. Furious, Baishu shouted, "You Chuliang. If I could do it all over again, I'd rather you'd never saved me. What a coincidence." I was just thinking how things might have been different if I hadn't saved Baishu. Chapter 1. Does he really think he's the only one with regrets? How rare for two bitter lovers who can't stand each other to actually share the same thought. The heavens gave us a second chance right then and there. Baishu's sparkling eyes locked onto mine, making my heart skip a beat. Chuliang, come with me to Shenzhen, where the husband leads, the wife follows. Realizing I'd returned to this pivotal moment, my pulse raced and my body trembled. I took several subtle steps backward, careful not to draw attention. The out-of-control minivan came barreling toward us. This time, I chose to watch Baishu get launched into the air without lifting a finger. It was the most beautiful parabolic arc I'd ever witnessed in my life. Screams erupted all around. Perfect. Before Baishu could even let out a scream, she passed out cold. I nearly burst out laughing, quickly covering my mouth. A passerby called emergency services for an ambulance. No one realized Baishu and I knew each other. Seeing me frozen in place, they assumed I was in shock. My mouth widened uncontrollably behind my palm as I laughed hysterically, tears streaming down my face. The ambulance took Baishu away. Police arrived and arrested the driver responsible for the accident. I knew it was drunk driving. The minivan was practically brand new, bought on loan without even having time to get insured. That means the culprits got no money for compensation. The janitor carried cleaning supplies to wash away the bloodstains. No telling whether Baishu would make it. Whatever. At least I won't get winded from running anymore, or break into cold sweats constantly, or run a fever every month. I turned and walked away with light steps. This feeling of vigor and lightness seemed like a lifetime ago. This is the robust physique of 22-year-old Yu Chuliang, in my past life. I pushed Baishu out of harm's way at the cost of my own life, leaving my bones shattered by a minivan. From then on, my health deteriorated severely, making pregnancy naturally difficult. In our 10th year together, I finally conceived Baishu's child. Tears of joy streamed down my face as I rushed to show him the ultrasound report, just in time to hear someone ask, "Brother Bai, after all these years together, when's the wedding? We'd like to prepare our red envelopes." I froze. That was exactly what I wanted to know too. Bang, though admittedly, the baby growing inside me would inevitably accelerate our marriage plans, but I wanted to hear Baishu's answer. We were having a perfectly fine time. Why bring this up all of a sudden? I recognized that familiar voice, laced with irritation. Someone else chimed in, "Brother Bai, are you really sure about spending your whole life with Yu Chuliang?" Through the half-open door, I saw Baishu silently drowning himself in liquor. My heart gave a painful twist, seeing his reaction. Those people grew bolder. "I've always thought Yu Chuliang wasn't good enough for you, a washed-up 30-something who can't even father children. What's the point of marrying him?" It's not like they didn't know. My health deteriorated from saving Baishu, yet you still use this to humiliate me. The one who started the conversation timidly suggested, "You could always adopt if you want children." What, doesn't Brother Bai deserve his own flesh and blood? Exactly, Brother Bai has such good genes. I heard Yu Chuliang adopted a stray cat as her child, cooing baby at it all day long. Is this how all barren women act? So damn creepy. Their remarks kept escalating, each more vicious than the last, but what cut deeper was Baishu's silence. I desperately wanted to burst through the door right then, just to see the looks on their faces when caught red-handed gossiping behind someone's back, but the door might as well have weighed a ton, sapping all strength from my arms. Baishu's assistant Wen Zizai pouted, "President Bai, sister Yu hasn't been worthy of you for ages. It just makes me so indignant on your behalf." At last, Baishu spoke, "What can I do? I'm stuck with this. She can't bear children and she's getting old. Who else would want her besides me?" My trembling rage turned to frozen stillness as I stood rooted to the spot. "Baishu, so this is what you really think?" I'm completely disgusted at this moment. How dare he act like my savior? in the private room, when Zai said in a sickly sweet voice, "A loveless marriage is suffocating. How could anyone endure decades of that? My heart aches for President Bai, having to carry such a heavy burden. If I were the one who saved you, I'd never use that as leverage, and even if there was kindness, hasn't it been repaid by now? All these years supporting her cushy lifestyle at home, plenty of women would kill for that." Bai Shu ruffled her hair approvingly. "Zai's always been the sensible one. Enough of this unpleasant talk. She did save my life, and after all these years together, I'd be a monster not to marry her." I couldn't take another word and walked away. As I passed the trash can, I paused and threw away the ultrasound report. Following my memories, I returned to our old, dilapidated rental. Over 10 years, Bai Shu's business took off. We kept upgrading our homes, eventually moving into a villa, with better material conditions. We ironically spent less time together, and our conversations grew distant. Someone once said a man's true love is revealed by the choices he makes when he's wealthy. When poor, he simply has no choice at all. Bai Shu was probably no exception. That night when I realized he looked down on me yet couldn't bring himself to dump me, I wandered aimlessly outside until dawn before finally going home. The window was pitch black. Clearly, Bai Shu hadn't returned yet. WeChat notifications chimed repeatedly. They were from when Zai, a stylish young girl, sat on Bai Shu's lap, one arm around his neck, their lips touching. Bai Shu's face was flushed, his eyes tightly closed. He appeared to be drunk. But even when drunk, one retains some awareness. How could he not notice with a full-grown person sitting in his lap? When Zai got right in her face, "You old hag, you stopped being good enough for him ages ago. Know your place and get lost. I saw your ultrasound report in the trash. An old woman like you having a baby, that's hilarious. Don't think you can trap a man with a child. I despise you." I was going to save the photo, but ended up deleting everything in the chat window instead. Saving it would have just polluted my phone. Rongbao seemed to sense my bad mood, meowing before flopping down at my feet, rolling onto his back and wriggling playfully for attention. I rubbed its soft belly and felt a bit better. Pregnancy has been tough, and after all these years with only Bai Shu in my world, I just can't let go so easily. Rongbao, I want to give it one last try. Rongbao, when the baby arrives, you'll be the big sister. You'll need to be patient with your younger sibling. Okay, it responds to everything I say with different tones, almost like it genuinely understands me. Bai Shu makes me feel lonelier than ever. This relationship brings me less joy than owning a cat. At 2 a.m., the electronic door lock beeped. Bai Shu's back, flipping on the light. He startled at the sight of me sitting motionless on the couch. He frowned irritably, sitting in the dark without a word. "Are you out of your mind?" "Yeah," I rasped. "Or why else would I have risked my life for you back then?" Bai Shu choked up, thinking I was upset about him coming home late, and walked over. Chapter 2. The scent of alcohol clung to him, mingled with a hint of cloying perfume. My eyes welled up. "Make me some hangover soup. Business dinners are such a hassle. I want to settle down. Let's get married." We spoke almost simultaneously. Bai Shu's expression darkened as he understood, his thin lips pressing together. Undeterred, I pressed on. "You used to say career before marriage. Now that you've achieved financial freedom, can we get our marriage license?" Bai Shu took a deep breath and said, "I've been swamped lately. There's no limit to making money. A wedding happens just once in a lifetime. Planning a proper one takes time. Let's get legally married first. Civil registration is free now with self-service kiosks. You don't even need household registration documents anymore. You know how it is with growing businesses, any changes could get complicated. We should probably sign a prenuptial agreement, though it's a bit tedious. I can't tell if this is just his excuse to delay marriage, or if he genuinely wants to draw such clear boundaries between us." Watching him rack his brains for excuses, I felt pathetic, and so did he. I spoke numbly. "No objections from me. Draft it as you see fit. Shouldn't take long." Bai Shu stared coldly at me, and I met his gaze. Our silent standoff stretching between us. Finally, Bai Shu lost his temper. He snapped harshly, "You Chuliang, is this constant pressure really necessary? Are you that desperate to get married?" The moment the words left his mouth, Bai Shu knew he had gone too far. "I didn't mean it like that. It's just, this is all so sudden." He ran a frustrated hand through his hair. "It's late, let's not talk about this anymore." I took a deep breath and said, "Actually, I'm preg. If confessing this still won't make Bai Shu marry me, then, forget it." Suddenly, his phone rang. In the silent room, I heard Wen Zai sobbing, "Mr. Bai, my power just went out. I'm so scared. I'm coming right now." Bai Shu's face flushed with urgency as he turned to leave. I grabbed his arm. "Just let me say one last thing. Can't it wait?" are you dying or something? With visible irritation, Baishu shook me off. Soon, the sound of an engine starting came from outside the door. I collapsed to the ground, clutching my aching stomach with a bitter smile. In such a hurry. Couldn't even wait to call a designated driver. If he crashes from drunk driving, at least don't drag others down. Let him be the only casualty. The moment this thought crossed my mind, I froze. It all happened in the blink of an eye. I no longer had the slightest concern about Baishu. Half an hour later, when Zai updated her social media feed, late night pop quiz, "You're simply the best boss." The background is brilliantly lit. One shows her flashing a peace sign with triumphant sparkles in her eyes. Another frames two different hands forming a heart shape. I recognized it at a glance. It was Baishu's hand. After posting on her moments, when Zai sent me a private message to show off, "How does it feel to have your husband called away by another woman in the middle of the night? I know you'll never find another man as good as Mr. Bye. But don't you have any self-respect? Still clinging to someone who doesn't love you anymore? Pathetic. I've got no respect for you desperate housewives who can't live without a man. This is so ridiculous it's laughable." Classic case of internalized misogyny, the pot calling the kettle black. Clearly she's the one trying to worm her way into Baishu's life as his trophy wife. You knowingly became the other woman. Don't tell me you actually think you're some kind of heroine. The status immediately changed to typing. When Zai completely lost it over the torrent of vulgar abuse, more upset than me, the actual cheated on party, suddenly feeling drained, I blocked her. Baishu eventually returned after midnight, slipping quietly into bed after washing up. His overwhelming presence became too much to bear, so I sat up abruptly. "I'm sleeping in the guest room." Baishu startled, grabbing my arm with obvious irritation in his voice. "What's this tantrum about? I'm not making a scene." "What's there to make a fuss about?" I retorted. "When Zai's place lost power, and she has night blindness," Baishu explained. "It's tough for a young girl working away from home alone, so bosses should care about their employees." "Makes sense." I nodded understandingly. "Mind letting go now?" Baishu froze momentarily before slowly releasing my wrist. A flicker of confusion passed across their face for no apparent reason. The next day, I went straight to the hospital to schedule an abortion. After preliminary tests, the procedure was scheduled for 3 days later. It seems fate had other plans for this child. I won't force what wasn't meant to be. I just want to hold your hand like this and never let go. The phone rang, interrupting my thoughts. It was the hospital calling. I'm the top contact on Baishu's phone. I frowned. How could his phone still be working after that crash and fall? I told the doctor directly that I had already broken up with the phone's owner. "If there's anything, contact his family or his counselor. I don't care if people call me cold and heartless for dumping my boyfriend right after his car accident. Gossip won't take a dime out of my bank account or a pound off my body, so there's no need to care about it." Humming a tune, I packed my things and carried a few bags of trash downstairs to toss. A young girl in a plaid skirt came bouncing past me. My eyes widened as I blurted out, "When Zai, who are you? How do you know me?" She asked in surprise. "But I've never seen you before." I've heard your classmates call you that." "No, goodbye, we probably won't meet again." The child When Zai looked at me with confusion. What a bizarre grown-up. I tossed the trash and watched her figure disappear into the distance. A decade later, when Zai reached my current age, shamelessly scheming to steal my husband while calling me old hag to my face, on the day I decided to get an abortion, Baishu texted me about a company celebration for landing a major deal, inviting me to join. Since I had nothing better to do, I figured I might as well go, just to kill some time. Only after arriving did I realize it was a formal banquet. With women in gowns and men in suits, everyone was dressed to the nines, making me stick out like a sore thumb in my denim jacket. Quite a few eyes lingered on me. Some were watching for the drama, some were mocking, and some were dismissive. In the past, I would have been embarrassed and anxious, terrified of embarrassing Baishu. Now, I couldn't care less. When Baishu saw me, he was surprised at first, then frowned and walked over. He glanced at my bare face and casual outfit disapprovingly. "What are you doing here?" Surprise inspection. The impeccably dressed When Zai lifted her skirt hem as she approached, sweetly explaining, "Mr. Bye, I used your phone to call sister you over. I thought she should share in our happy news." Baishu cleared his throat. "You should have said so earlier. Got caught up in work and forgot." She pouted playfully, her eyes gleaming with smug satisfaction at outshining me. "Look at that. The junior assistant is texting from the boss's phone. And he doesn't even bat an eye." How audacious, yet how tantalizingly ambiguous. Baishu gave a resigned smile. "Didn't you tell her it's black tie?" When Zai pouted and tugged at his arm playfully. I told you I forgot when things got hectic. Don't you dare blame me. Wasn't blaming you. Baishu misunderstood me but showed no intention of apologizing, though when Zai kept crossing boundaries, he'd grown accustomed to it. When Zai said sarcastically, "Sister Yu's outfit is quite charming indeed, very effortless," Baishu frowned slightly, not bothering to hide the disdain in her eyes, as if I'd done something wrong again, even though he clearly knew I'd been tricked into coming by when Zai. "Chuliang, you're here. Technically you should be my plus one, but your outfit isn't quite appropriate." "Yeah, I know." I felt a pang of hunger as my eyes landed on the dessert spread. "Don't mind me. I'll grab something to eat." When Zai was clearly hoping to see me humiliated, but all I felt was utter boredom. Baishu's brow furrowed even deeper, and he pulled me back. "I thought he didn't want me to stay here." "What, am I embarrassing you?" "Fine, I'll leave then." "Chuliang, why, aren't you angry?" "Why would I be angry?" I was completely baffled. Baishu froze, equally confused about what I could possibly be upset about. I picked up a few different slices of cake and settled into a corner to slowly enjoy them. I don't actually have much of a sweet tooth, but right now, this tastes absolutely delicious. It must be the baby in my belly who likes it. It's a shame it won't truly get to come into this world and enjoy desserts. For years, I've been struggling to get my body back in shape. After all the trouble of finally getting pregnant, the man who once held me, weeping profusely, swearing he would never let me down for the rest of his life, is dead. I could feel Baishu's eyes on me from time to time. I also noticed how differently he treated Wen Ziren compared to the other employees. His expression was gentle, even with a hint of doting affection. When Zai clung to his arm with a sugary smile, looking every bit the doting young wife of CEO Bai. The employees' nonchalant reactions made it clear this wasn't the first time Baishu and Wen Zai had been this affectionate. Chapter 3. Yet my heart remained utterly undisturbed. The space that once overflowed with thoughts of Baishu now stood completely empty. Even I'm surprised how easy it is to stop loving a man. Baishu won't, and doesn't deserve to, drain my energy anymore. This feels incredibly liberating. I've moved on. But some people just can't let go and still insist on causing trouble. When Ziren approached, looking smug and pleased with herself, holding a glass of orange juice, "Sishu, why are you just sitting there eating desserts? I brought you a drink. Have some to wet your throat." "No thanks," I refused. Who knows if she spat in it. Soon enough, I learned spitting wasn't her style, but when Zai had plenty of other ways to disgust me. "Sishu, I'm only by President Bai's side for work. Your outfit clashes. It doesn't suit him at all. Don't blame me." "Okay." When Zai bit her lip with a pitiful expression, but her eyes were unmistakably taunting. "Don't blame Mr. Bai, he's ignoring you because men care about their pride. After all, you're just a faded housewife." "Oh, no, I didn't mean you're old. I'm just calling it like I see it." If when Zai was trying to provoke me into losing my temper and making a scene, she'd miscalculated badly. I remained silent, as if watching a clown perform a monkey show. When Zai's eyes darted around, and seeing that no one was paying attention to her, she suddenly raised the orange juice in her hand. The next second, she poured it all over her head and immediately let out a scream. Soon, the commotion attracted everyone's attention. When Zai said tearfully, "Sister Yu, I saw you alone and kindly brought you orange juice. How could you treat me like this?" Without even asking for my side, Baishu snapped, "You Chuliang, have you lost your mind?" Apologized to Zai immediately. "No need, President Bai. I wouldn't dare expect an apology from the future CEO's wife," with reddened eyes. When Zai accepted a towel from someone nearby, sobbing as she wiped off the orange juice. "What CEO's wife? That's pure fantasy. You Chuliang, apologize." Baishu pressed on relentlessly. Everything about him, his face, his expression, his voice, filled me with utter disgust. Thankfully, I'd always kept my guard up around when Zai. The moment she approached, I had a hunch she'd pull some stunt, so I'd already started recording on my phone. I projected the footage directly onto the banquet hall screen. Hundreds of our colleagues watched when Zai's cringe-worthy performance together. The room fell dead silent. Baishu's face flushed crimson, then gradually paled, unable to utter a single word. When Zai's face contorted momentarily, gnashing his teeth as if ready to pounce and tear me apart. After an eerie silence, someone burst into laughter. Probably couldn't hold it in any longer. Laughter is contagious. Soon everyone was roaring with mirth. Baishu couldn't stay mad even if he tried. Baishu muttered nonsense at when Zai, still visibly flustered as he turned to me complaining. why didn't you tell me sooner? I said leisurely. Let's consider assistant Wen's performance art as entertainment for this celebration. Look how delighted everyone is. Wen Zai clutched the towel tightly, stomped away in her high heels with flushed indignation. Aren't you going after her? She clearly needs comforting, I asked flatly. Chuliang, something's off about you. Bai Shu didn't even glance at Wen Zai, instead grabbing my arm firmly. So you'd rather watch me make a scene? Bai Shu pursed his lips and frowned. Not exactly. He didn't get it, but suddenly it dawned on me. If I made a jealous scene, Bai Shu would definitely take Wen Zai's side and tell me to cut it out. Fine. I kept quiet and acted indifferent, then he got all confused. Would two women fighting over him really make him feel good? Men, they're hilarious. An employee asked Bai Shu to come over and draw the raffle prizes for everyone. Bai Shu said, you stay here and be good, and we'll go home together when it's over. Seizing the moment when everyone was distracted by the raffle on stage, I slipped out of the banquet hall for some fresh air. When Zai latched onto me again, insisting we needed to talk. It was the same old song and dance, nothing but twisted accusations repeated ad nauseum. Completely fed up, I checked the time on my phone. Are you recording this? When Zai reacted like facing a mortal threat. Psycho, go get your head checked before your undiagnosed condition gets worse. She suddenly flew into a rage and tried to snatch my phone. In our scuffle, we ended up at the edge of the staircase. Listen here, you old hag. Don't think you can trap Mr. Bai with a baby. Suddenly, when Zai yanked me downward, the way her eyes darted around as she shoved me aggressively told me she was up to no good, so that was her game, trying to make me miscarry. I dodged with lightning reflexes, instinctively elbowing her in the process. When Zai tumbled down the stairs, this time the screams and sobs were undeniably real. I sneered, who the hell do you think you are? Even if I don't want this child, it's my decision to make. What gives you the right to interfere? Bai Shu arrived, his face instantly darkening. When Zai sobbed, I know Sister Yu is angry with me. If pushing me down the stairs would calm her, I'll endure it. Mr. Bai, please don't call the police. I'm fine. Bai Shu glared at me coldly, accusing me of being vicious. You Chuliang, how could you become like this? I snapped impatiently. Like what? She slipped and fell on her own. I didn't react fast enough to catch her. Is that my fault too? When Zai's sobs hitched, slipped. It was you who got proof. You tried to push me but slipped yourself. That's what we call poetic justice. You only dared push me because there's no surveillance on this staircase. When Zai wailed even louder, this time from genuine distress. Mr. Bai, it really hurts. Bai Shu scooped up Wen Zai anxiously, saying, I'm taking you to the hospital first. Mr. Bai, please don't call the police. Making a scene would only make things worse. Alright, but Zai. You don't always have to be so considerate. When Zai's face twisted abruptly, I rolled my eyes. Can't you see they're hinting you should call the police? With a smile, I waved at the crowd of onlookers. Make way, don't block the path. You, press the elevator. You, call an ambulance. Stop standing there frozen. Someone suddenly snapped out of it and moved to take over Wen Zai. I slapped the man's hand away and said, Mr. Bai knows how to take care of his subordinates. Who asked for your interference? Bai Shu froze momentarily before attempting to set the person down. When Zai clung tightly to his neck, whimpering in pain, the victory banquet concluded prematurely due to this incident. I watched Bai Shu drive Wen Zai to the hospital, even cheerfully waving goodbye. Honey, come back soon, or don't bother coming back at all. Bai Shu choked back his anger, his face turning livid. Not long after I got home, he returned too, this early. I was steaming chicken breast for Rongbao when I said that, and my surprise was genuine. I'd assumed he'd stay with Wen Zai at the hospital, or at least see her home and keep vigil all night. Bai Shu tossed his suit jacket onto the couch. What's with the attitude? After all, you two are so close you'd rush to each other's side even if the power went out in the middle of the night. It's not strange for me to think that, is it? Are you ever going to stop? Every word out of your mouth is a jab. His brow furrowed even more. You're the one who pushed her. Aren't you even going to ask how badly she's hurt? If she were seriously hurt, you'd still be at the hospital. You wouldn't be in the mood to come back here and demand answers. What if she fell badly, or even died? Could you live with yourself? That's a human life. Wen Zai is trying to kill the life inside me again. But I won't tell Bai Shu about it. She pushed me first. That's why I fought back. Just as expected, Bai Shu didn't believe me. I heard Zai said she wouldn't call the police, so there's no need for you to frame her. I lost all interest in talking to him and fell silent. This is so boring. Bai Shu, thinking I had no comeback, actually said, "She's still in the hospital, staying overnight for observation. Buy some gifts and come with me to the hospital to apologize later." I picked up my phone. "I think I'll just call the police." Without surveillance footage, who says when Zai Zai gets the final say? The next second, my phone was snatched and smashed to the ground with a bang. Mior, Ro, Rongbao's fur stood on end in fright as he darted around wildly. I frantically chased after him, trying to scoop him up. "Don't be scared, Rongbao. It's okay, come to mommy." Something must have set Bai Shu off again as he snapped. "You Chuliang, you're truly disgusting. You treat people worse than you treat cats. I'm seriously starting to think I mean less to you than this feline." Rongbao would never abandon me at midnight to play with other cats. Cradling Rongbao soothingly, I countered earnestly, "Bai Shu, how do you measure up? How many times do I have to tell you? There's nothing going on between me and Wen Zai Zai." Bai Shu growled, "You Chuliang, can you stop being so petty? Bringing it up again and again is just pointless." Rongbao would never talk behind my back or gossip with other cats. If anyone tries to attack me, Rongbao will even rush in to fight them off. Once, when Rongbao was still a stray, a dog barked furiously at me. Though Rongbao was clearly terrified with his fur standing on end, he bravely stood his ground in front of me and chased the dog away. Bai Shu's eyes flickered. "I've no idea what you're talking about. You're really obsessed with that cat to the point of madness." I focused on petting Rongbao. Couldn't be bothered with his acting, but putting on an act was one thing, turning around to blame me was another. In this regard, he's quite similar to Wen Zai Zai. "I know you understood, but there's no need to feel guilty about it. I don't care anymore." Bai Shu panted heavily, acting erratically again as she suddenly reached out to snatch Rongbao. "That cat is the reason you can't get pregnant. No more pets, get rid of it now." Rongbao let out another terrified wail, thrashing and leaping away before darting around the room like a headless chicken. I'd never been this furious, kicking and hitting Bai Shu until I'd driven him out the door and deadbolted behind him. "Bai Shu, we're through, get lost." Bai Shu pounded and kicked at the door outside, shouting, "You Chuliang, take that back. I'll pretend I never heard it. He's the one who wanted me to break up with him, and now that I've done what he wanted, shouldn't he be celebrating?" The sounds from outside gradually faded. Bai Shu left, and I couldn't care less where he ends up. I started packing my things. "Don't forget Rongbao's belongings." Rongbao emerged slowly, his eyes still wide with fright. Seeing me pack, he grew anxious, circling me with constant whimpers, as if fearing I might abandon him. "Rongbao, we're moving. We probably won't have such a big place anymore. Will you be able to get used to it?" Chapter 4. Without Bai Shu, I can't afford a house this big, but the love I have for Rongbao will only grow, never lessen. "Don't worry, you'll always be with me." Rongbao seemed to understand, calming down and nuzzling me affectionately instead. I spent the night erasing all traces of myself from the house. "What do you want?" Then I went apartment hunting during the day, though I couldn't afford to buy. I had enough for rent and soon found a perfect apartment. The landlord also keeps pets, so they readily agreed to let me have a cat. My heart felt light as I hummed a tune on my way back. In the distance, I spotted a moving company van parked outside the villa, but I hadn't called for any movers. Before I even got close, I could see the front door wide open. "Bai Shu, you." I've told him to close the door behind him so Rongbao wouldn't run out. I stormed over, but the person inside was Wen Zai Zai. Wen Zai Zai was directing workers to move luggage. Spotting me, she twirled a key around her finger smugly and said, "President Bai sent me here to recuperate." "Recuperate my ass, get out." I pushed her aside, eager to go in and find Rongbao. With so many strangers coming in and out of the house, it must be terrified. Wen Zai Zai wouldn't let it go, grabbing me and thrusting her hand in front of my face. "Look at this. It's what Mr. Bai compensated me with." A striking pink diamond ring adorned her middle finger. Impossible to miss. If you're not blind, quit pretending you can't see it. For a fleeting moment, my mind went blank. In my youth, I had a penchant for pink. Bai Shu once promised we'd use pink diamonds for our wedding rings when we could afford them. I would have completely forgotten about this if Wen Zai Zai hadn't reminded me. So it's none of my business who Bai Shu gives that pink diamond ring to. The only thing I care about is my cat. "Rongbao, Rongbao, mommy's home now. Don't be scared." Hearing my voice, Rongbao peeked his little head out from under the couch. His furry face was full of panic, but upon seeing me, he mustered his courage and crawled out from beneath the sofa. When Zai Zai suddenly shrieked, "Ah, I'm allergic to cat hair. Get that cat out of here now. I'll pay extra." The movers immediately tried catching Rongbao, sending the terrified cat scrambling in every direction. "I'm losing it," I roared. This is MY house and MY cat, get the hell out of here, I'm calling the shots here, everyone does as I say. When Zai lunged at me while the movers went after the cat, turning the place into complete chaos. In the scuffle, that bastard when Zai kneed me hard in the gut, a searing pain plunged me into darkness. When I came to, I was already in the hospital. As expected, I'd lost the baby. Though I'd decided against keeping it, its absence left an unexpected void in my heart. You're pregnant. Why didn't you tell me? Baishu's eyes were bloodshot. I felt somewhat dazed, as if I had overlooked something important. How long was I unconscious? From yesterday afternoon until noon today, Baishu said through gritted teeth. Yu Chuliang, did you know you were pregnant? I curled my lips coldly and retorted, don't act like you're actually looking forward to this child, with Wen Zai already living under our roof. Do you really want our child to grow up watching you cozy up to another woman? Baishu panicked. I was just angry you locked me out. Apologize to me, and I'll make Wen Zai leave. Trembling with rage, I slapped him across the face. Go fuck yourself. Wen Zai suddenly rushed over, separating me and Baishu, shouting angrily, how dare you hit him? A man's dignity means everything, especially for someone like President Bai. How's he supposed to show his face now? President Bai is devastated about losing the baby too. How could you keep such joyful news from him? Did you even consider him the father? No, I said bluntly, he doesn't deserve that title. Baishu's face darkened, his knuckles cracking audibly as he clenched his fists. Yu Chuliang, you owe me an explanation. Are you deaf? I said you're unworthy of being my child's father. Do I need to spell it out? Baishu drew a sharp breath, his expression strained as he said. I know you're lashing out. You've just lost the baby. I'll let this slide, just treat it as an accident. I hoarsely protested. An accident? It was Wen Zai who kicked me in the stomach. Baishu froze, turning to look at Wen Zai. Sister, you're the one who tripped while trying to catch the cat. Why are you blaming me? Wen Zai's voice trembled with again. Now I realize what I've overlooked. I hastily threw off the blanket and got out of bed, desperate to go find Rongbao. Where are you going? Baishu grabbed my arm. You just had a miscarriage. You need rest. Don't move around, Rongbao. We've both been out. He must be starving. I broke free from his grip, frantic with worry. Strangers came to the house yesterday with the front door wide open. I'm worried Rongbao might have slipped out, or maybe he's cowering in some corner of the house, trembling with fear. Either way, I need to get back immediately. That damn cat again, I've had enough. Baishu still blocked my path, finally snapping, Yu Chuliang, I swear you care more about that cat than our own child. When Zai gasped dramatically, Sister, there's a limit to treating your cat like a child. Now look what happened, that damn animal cost you your real baby, and you're still defending it. Bullshit. FYI, there's surveillance in that room. I scoffed at her theatrics before turning to Baishu. Check the footage yourself. Guilt flashed across Wen Zai's face as she stammered to Baishu. Sister, you and I had a scuffle. I might have accidentally bumped her stomach. Her tears came on cue, the sobs growing louder. I didn't mean to. I'm such a coward. How could I ever dare harm Mr. Bai's child? Even now, she's still relentlessly putting on this act. You won't stop until you're cornered. Save your excuses for the police. Finally, when Zai turned deathly pale with fear. Just then, my phone rang and I answered instinctively. Ms. Yu Chuliang, you scheduled an abortion procedure for today. Why haven't you checked in? The air froze instantly. I was standing close enough to Baishu that he heard every word clearly, his face visibly twisted into an expression of extreme displeasure. When Zai exhaled in relief, her eyes flashing with delight as she exclaimed, President Bai. So Yu Chuliang never actually wanted your child. Baishu ignored her, fixing me with an intense stare as he demanded, is this true? Obviously, I met his gaze unflinchingly, locked in a silent battle of wills. Those fleeting seconds stretched unnaturally as countless memories of us flashed through my mind, sweet, sorrowful, passionate, complicated. Baishu suddenly let out a derisive laugh and pulled out his phone, right in front of me. They deleted all the surveillance footage captured yesterday. Seeing this, when Zai couldn't help but laugh. I froze for a few seconds before suddenly feeling utterly disgusted by Baishu. This is how far you'll go to protect her. Baishu arched an eyebrow, disdain flashing in his eyes as he stated bluntly, I'm not defending her, I'm punishing you. You never wanted this child anyway. What difference does it make whether it's gone a day earlier? Does the method even matter? Waves of chills kept coursing through my body. I knew full well it wasn't from the recent miscarriage. It was because of the man standing before me. The closest people can be the cruelest, because they know your weaknesses and won't hesitate to strike when needed, but it doesn't matter anymore. Whatever Bai Shu says means less than a dog's bark to me. If someone who wants to die gets killed by another, does the killer bear no responsibility? Even if you delete it, I'm still calling the police, Mr. Bai, look at her. When Zai Zai stomped her foot and coquettishly leaned into Bai Shu, I shoved aside the annoying couple blocking my way in irritation. I couldn't find Rongbao when I returned, so I took his photo out to ask around. The neighborhood cleaner said, "Is this your cat? It got run over while darting around. I buried it. Are you sure it's him?" "No mistake." My heart clenched as if grabbed by an invisible hand. Utterly devastated. Definitely this one. Chubby with a little black spot here by its mouth, like a big mole. My body suddenly swayed violently, nearly losing my balance. That was Rongbao's most distinctive feature. I used to tease him about his beauty mark. The janitor took me to where Rongbao was buried. With trembling hands, I dug through the soil until my fingers brushed against Rongbao's black and gold fur. His once glossy coat had turned brittle and matted. "Did you see it? Was it in much pain when it passed?" The cleaner paused before answering. I heard a terrible scream. When I came over, its mouth was full of blood, eyes bulging out. I transferred 5,000 to her. "Thank you for giving it a proper burial." Overwhelmed with emotion, she kept thanking profusely before leaving. I couldn't hold back anymore and burst into uncontrollable sobs. "Rongbao, I'm so sorry. I should have taken you away sooner. To our safe little home where it's just the two of us." I slowly packed up Rongbao's food and toys. Chapter 5. It's like it's still alive, ready to come home with me any moment now. Bai Shu arrived with Wen Zai Zai and snapped upon learning Rongbao was gone. "Come on, it's just some stray cat. Why the fuss?" Wen Zai Zai added. "Sister," you cried, her eyes swollen. She truly treated that cat like her own child, fighting with me over a damn cat, wailing over a damn cat. "You Chuliang, you're absolutely deranged. Rongbao existed before I met you." I packed my belongings into the box. Speaking tonelessly, "Bai Shu, I'll say it again, you're not worth it." Bai Shu's chest heaved violently, as if consumed by rage. After a long silence, he flung something toward me. With grudging concession, he tossed out, "Let Wen Zai Zai wear it herself. This was meant for you anyway. It's that pink diamond ring." I was stunned. What was he doing? "Isn't this what you've always wanted?" "Before I change my mind, I'm letting you lock me down." I stood there in shock, then burst out laughing. That bitter kind of laughter, you know, Wen Zai Zai said with thinly veiled sarcasm. "Look, President Bai, Sister Yu's so overjoyed by your proposal she's gone completely dumbstruck. Oh, I'll gift you a cat as a wedding present. How about a ragdoll? Munchkins are adorable too. Anything's better than that no-name alley cat you call precious." She smiled, every word dripping with malice. "Sis Yu, trust me on this. Even if you're getting a cat, it should be worthy of President Bai's status. Your cheap tastes are your business, but don't flaunt them." I completely lost it and rushed over to slap her multiple times. "Shut your filthy mouth." "Ah," Wen Zai Zai shrieked while dodging. "President Bai, save me." Bai Shu stood in front of her, and I just hit him too, wildly, without any control, just letting it all out. "I think you've completely lost it." He grabbed my wrist and shoved me back hard. "You Chuliang, if I could do it all over again, I'd rather you never saved me." Bai Shu pulled Wen Zai Zai along and left without looking back. I didn't even notice I'd hit the back of my head on the corner of the table. In the instant I lost consciousness, the last thought that flashed through my mind was, if only I hadn't saved Bai Shu back then. Did he really think he was the only one with regrets? When I got the hospital's call again, I had already packed my things, found a rental, and moved in. Further cutting ties with Bai Shu, the hospital said Bai Shu woke up, completely broke down, and was frantically demanding to see me. My counselor asked, puzzled, "You Chuliang, I remember you and Bai Shu were dating. Why haven't you shown up since his car accident? Are you saying you're abandoning Bai Shu because he had an amputation?" "What did you just say?" I accidentally blurted that out. I cleared my throat. "That serious? Wow, that's amazing. You Chuliang, are you trying to dump my brother Bai just because he's disabled? You're such a gold-digging, heartless snob. This isn't true love." Someone roared nearby. I recognized that voice. It was Bai Shu's friend, the same guy who'd been badmouthing me behind my back 10 years later. I sneered. "You love him, so you took him in. You goddamn bitch, shut up, don't you dare curse at her." Bai Shu roared from the other side. "She doesn't even want you anymore, and you're still defending her. Hand me the phone." Bai Shu asked tearfully. "Did you come back too?" The moment those words were spoken, I wanted to count out to the heavens, thinking his girlfriend abandoned him for his disability. He got his wish, no longer burdened by her being his savior. Bearing the car accident alone, which one is more cruel? I asked, curious. Why are you crying? Isn't this what you wanted? Even though we both went back 10 years, but our last argument happened not long ago. If I could do it all over again, I'd rather you hadn't saved me." Her words still echoed in my ears. Bai Shu cried even more hysterically, repeatedly calling my name, Chu Liang, Chu Liang. Given a second chance at life, besides avoiding the car accident and letting our destinies unfold separately, there's one more crucial thing I need to do, that is to find Rong Bao. I clearly remember the exact day and place I met Rong Bao, so I waited with bated breath, and when the time came, I went to lie in wait for him. During this time, Bai Shu didn't bother me again. I guess he had some shame. By the time I first met Rong Bao, half a year had already passed since my rebirth. I waited nervously, afraid of a butterfly effect. Thankfully, Rong Bao really did appear. It was still a kitten, thin and scrawny, with fur visibly lacking luster. Despite being independent from a young age, it's not naive at all and has a very cautious personality. I had to feed it for a while before I could kidnap it and bring it home. After getting home, Rong Bao kept hiding everywhere and took a whole week to fully adjust. This time, for some reason, before I could even take out the cat treat, Rong Bao came running over meowing and affectionately rubbed against my leg. "Rong Bao, have you come back too?" Meow meow, suppressing my excitement. I tentatively stepped away. Rong Bao's meows grew frantic as he followed me, darting ahead before suddenly flopping down to expose his belly playfully. "Rong Bao, I'm so sorry." Overjoyed, I scooped him up and held him tight. I got my precious baby back. While carrying Rong Bao to the vet, I unexpectedly ran into Bai Shu. "Chu Liang." Bai Shu leaned on his crutch, his cheeks sunken and his face gaunt. His trench coat hung loosely on him. He saw the cat in my arms, paused, then gave a wry smile. "You found Rong Bao." I pretended not to know him, walked around him, and quickly left. Chu Liang, I was wrong. I regret it. Please look at me. Please don't ignore me." "Oh dear, how pitiful." People around gasped, their faces showing sympathy. Bai Shu fell to the ground, his prosthetic leg detached, and the left pant leg below the knee was empty. He looked at me pleadingly, as if he was about to break. But what does that have to do with me? This is how he was meant to be. His destined fate. I strode forward, knowing there was no turning back. Story 2. In 1990, my husband faked his death to elope with his childhood sweetheart he could never forget. In my past life, I was branded a husband killer and driven out by my in-laws. The village predator dragged me into a cellar, where I endured 3 days of torture before dying in agony. When I opened my eyes again, news of my husband's death reached me. I turned away and remarried, accepting the proposal from my childhood sweetheart next door. But then, my husband returned from the dead, only to weep saying he regretted everything. Reborn on the night my faked his death to elope with his childhood lover. I kept the death benefit that was originally meant entirely for my in-laws. I was just packing my things to remarry. Suddenly, there was a thud in the courtyard. My childhood sweetheart from next door climbed over the wall and knocked on my door. I opened the door and saw my childhood friend who looked almost identical to my husband. I couldn't help but shudder violently. 1. In my past life, my husband who worked at the coal mine was caught in a sudden collapse while working underground. After his death, the mine sent us 10,000 yuan in death benefits. My in-laws were terrified I'd abscond with the money, begging on their knees in desperation. They even suggested my childhood sweetheart could inherit both family lines, proposing I'd spend a night with him to bear my late husband's heir. I rejected my in-laws' outrageous proposition. Out of pity for their loss, I voluntarily gave my in-laws the entire 10,000 yuan death compensation from the coal mine. But soon after, village gossip spread that my childhood sweetheart and I had been sleeping together. Upon hearing the rumors, Hu Lifeng stormed into my house and slapped me hard across the face. Yet on her way back to her parents' home, she fell into the river and vanished without a trace. After Qingmei's death, I became the family's scapegoat. My mother-in-law cursed me as a jinx who brought death to both her son and her younger son's fiancé. My father-in-law led the clan to drive me out of the house without letting me take a single penny. In the end, on my way back to my parents' home, I was knocked unconscious by the village's old bachelor and thrown into a cellar. After enduring 3 days and nights of inhuman torture, I unwillingly drew my last breath. As a wandering spirit, I followed my in-laws only to discover my husband had never actually died. He and those missing miners had staged the accident to claim massive death compensation payouts. Turned out my husband planned to use that money to elope with his childhood sweetheart, so the husband decided to fake their deaths with several other miners. In truth, they'd secretly dug an alternate tunnel underground after the coal mine collapsed. They threw their belongings into the bottomless pit, then quietly climbed to safety through the hidden passage. Everyone believed they were buried alive in the collapsed coal mine. Their bodies never recovered. Little did they know, after the accident, the families received hefty compensation and lived comfortably ever after. After faking his death, the husband secretly visited his parents. He took back that 10,000 yuan compensation money. Then, under assumed names, he fled south with his childhood sweetheart Hu Lifeng. With that 10,000 yuan as seed money, he started a factory and became a tycoon, living in the lap of luxury, while me and my childhood friend remained completely in the dark. One met a gruesome end in a pitch-black cellar. To grow old alone. When I opened my eyes again, I saw the undisguised concern in my childhood sweetheart's gaze. I yanked him inside without hesitation. Jiang Shaoan, from this moment onward, you shall be Jiang Xiaoping. My childhood sweetheart blushed, gazing at me with unreadable emotions in his eyes. He offered no resistance as I pulled him into the room and dressed him in Jiang Xiaoping's clothes. Finally, I took the heirloom jade pendant and threaded it with a red cord. With my own hands, I placed it around my childhood sweetheart's neck. This jade pendant is made from common material, nothing valuable, but the carving was done by a master jade artisan who'd been sent to our village. After my death in my past life, my husband took this pendant. It was later recognized by the master's descendants during a business deal. Thanks to these connections, my husband smoothly ingratiated himself into this prestigious jade carving dynasty. He switched careers to the lucrative jade trade that raked in piles of money daily, in this lifetime. Such extravagant wealth would never again belong to Jiang Xiaoping. 2. The next day, my in-laws behaved exactly as they had in the previous life. They summoned the Jiang family elders before all the relatives. With a thud, they dropped to their knees before me. Feifei, we old folks are begging you. You've been married to Xiaoping for 2 years now, yet haven't borne him a single child. Now that Xiaoping's gone, if you don't bear him a child, won't our family line die with him? The Jiang relatives all chimed in, urging me to accept the dual marriage arrangement. Just then, I smiled and pulled my childhood sweetheart out from my room. My mother-in-law froze, her wrinkled face flushing crimson as she pointed at me and started screaming, "How dare you, Chen Feifei, Xiaoping's body isn't even cold yet, and you're already sharing a bed with Shaoan, you shameless harlot. Have you no respect for my Xiaoping's memory?" I asked pointedly. Wasn't this your idea, having him continue both family lines by giving me a child? My in-laws' faces instantly twisted like they were constipated. I linked arms with my childhood sweetheart and continued, "Besides, who said he's Shaoan? He's clearly my man shipping." The moment these words left my mouth, the Jiang family relatives erupted in uproar. "What? He's Xiaoping? Then who was the one involved in the mine accident? That can't be right. Xiaoping was clearly the one working at the coal mine. How did it become Shaoan? If he's Xiaoping, then where's Shaoan?" Smiling, I unbuttoned Jiang Shaoan's collar and took out my dowry jade pendant. At this point, Xiaoping and I can't keep hiding the truth any longer. Actually, it's always been Shaoan, my childhood sweetheart, who went to work at the coal mine. Mother-in-law suddenly shrieked, "That can't be. Xiaoping was clearly the one who got the mining job. How could Shaoan be working there instead?" I sighed deliberately and explained. It was indeed Xiaoping who got the coal mining job, but Xiaoping insisted that as the elder brother, he should let his younger sibling have the opportunity. Besides, Shaoan still needed to save up for marriage, so Xiaoping discussed with me about letting Shaoan work at the mine for 3 years first to earn some wedding money. After all, they're identical twins, the miners wouldn't be able to tell them apart anyway. We never expected the coal mine accident. Our good intentions with Xiaoping ended up harming Zayazuma. The old woman shook her head frantically. "Impossible," Xiaoping told me himself. My eyes turned sharp as I stared her down. "What exactly did Xiaoping tell you?" The old woman guiltily clamped her mouth shut, though her expression remained visibly distressed. "I know Jiang Xiaoping must have secretly contacted his parents already. They want to keep me trapped at home like last time, using that dual lineage inheritance excuse. That way they can rightfully pocket that 10,000 yuan, so their precious eldest son can run away with his beloved woman. What a pity. This time, there'll be no miraculous resurrection for Jiang Xiaoping. After all, how could a wife mistake the man who shares her bed? 3. The man by my side can only be the real Jiang Xiaoping. The one lost in the mine was actually my childhood sweetheart, Jiang Shaoan. At my words, my mother-in-law collapsed to the ground with a thud. Father-in-law's hands trembled uncontrollably as he clutched his tobacco pipe. They wanted to explain to everyone that Jiang Xiaoping wasn't actually dead. He'd only faked his death to fraudulently claim the coal mine's death compensation. But if this gets exposed, not only will the secure coal mine job be lost, but they'll also demand the 10,000 yuan death compensation back. That's a whole 10,000 yuan we're talking about. Jiang Xiaoping worked as a coal miner, earning just 160 yuan a month. At this rate, it would take forever to save up 10,000 yuan. At that moment, the parents suddenly realized both sons were their own flesh and blood. As long as the money stays in the family, what difference does it make which son gets it? Though they still couldn't figure out why the younger brother would impersonate the eldest. But right now, the most crucial thing is to protect that 10,000 yuan at all costs. Watching as my in-laws' gazes grew increasingly resolute, I knew Jiang Shaoan and I had won our gamble. To my utter shock, the deceased turned out to be my own fiancé, Jiang Shaoan. Instead of grieving, his betrothed Hu Lifeng did the unthinkable. She stormed into the funeral and pointed at the deceased, shrieking hysterically, "You've all been deceived. That's not Jiang Xiaoping, it's Jiang Shaoan. Jiang Shaoan, you heartless monster. How dare you impersonate your own brother and try to steal his death benefits? May you die a wretched death." A shadow of gloom flashed in Jiang Shaoan's eyes as he calmly pulled out the jade pendant hanging around his neck in response to his fiancé's accusation. "Sister-in-law, I understand you're grieving Shaoan's death. It's only natural you can't accept this right now. But I'm truly not Shaoan, I'm Xiaoping. See for yourselves, this jade pendant was part of my wife's dowry. Back when I got the coal mine job, my wife worried about my safety and gave me this protective jade pendant. Later I passed the mining job to my younger brother Shaoan, but kept this pendant since it was my wife's dowry. If you don't believe me, ask my in-laws. They'll confirm this jade pendant came with my wife's dowry." Fortunately, today was Jiang Shaoan's funeral, and as relatives, my parents came to attend the service. My mother stepped forward, took the jade pendant from Xiao Zhima's hands, turned it over for a look, and declared firmly, "Absolutely, this jade pendant was part of my Feifei's dowry. I wore this pendant for over a decade. There's a small chip on the back from when I accidentally knocked it against a rock while working on the reservoir construction. The evidence is irrefutable, and as his lawful wife, I solemnly declare that my childhood sweetheart is indeed my husband Jiang Xiaoping." Hu Lifeng, his childhood friend, was left speechless. In a fit of rage, she spat out, "You'll pay for this." Before storming off in a huff, I knew she must be going to find the real Jiang Xiaoping. Would Jiang Xiaoping dare to come forward and admit he faked his death to claim the coal mine compensation? 10,000 yuan is no small sum. This already constitutes fraud. If he actually dares to admit it, I wouldn't mind reporting him to the coal mine myself and sending him to jail. After Jiang Shaoan's funeral, the villagers all say we're blessed fools as a couple. Giving the coal mine job to my brother-in-law turned out to be a lucky accident. It saved my husband from disaster. At least I didn't become a widow. But poor Hu Lifeng wasn't so fortunate. In this life, just like me in my past life, she's been branded as a husband killer. People even think she's gone mad. Now the whole village is gossiping about how Hu Lifeng can't accept her fiancé's death. She keeps insisting the dead man was my husband, claiming hers is still alive, even impersonated her own brother to sleep with his wife, and the result, not a single villager believed her nonsense. My childhood sweetheart and I were inseparable, working the fields together, gathering firewood in the mountains, except when night fell. Jiang Shaoan stubbornly refused to share the bed, insisting on sleeping on the floor. Floor it is, huh? I tumbled off the bed clutching the quilt and landed right in Jiang Shaoan's arms. Breathing softly into his ear, I whispered shyly, "The truth is, in these 2 years of marriage, I never conceived your brother's child because, your brother, his heart belonged only to his sister-in-law. He never once touched me." Jiang Shaoan swallowed hard, his eyes gleaming unnervingly bright. Suddenly, he yanked the blanket wrapped around me clean off, pinning me down on the floor. The next morning, I lay in bed far later than usual. Jiang Shaoan was bustling about like an over-caffeinated squirrel, attending to my every need. He fetched water for me to wash up and even served lunch to my bedside. My mother-in-law watched us with undisguised suspicion. Could it be that Xiaoping is actually alive? No one knew Jiang Shaoan had been reborn, just like me. In this life, Jiang Shaoan finally saw the light, since his elder brother and Hu Lifeng had cuckolded him in their past lives. Why shouldn't he return the favor and cuckold them this time around? Perhaps the news of Jiang Shaoan and I consummating the marriage had thoroughly enraged my husband. One night a few days later, my in-laws stormed into Jiang Shaoan's room with my husband and Hu Lifeng in tow. Seeing me nestled in Jiang Shaoan's arms, My husband nearly burst a blood vessel in fury. Chen Feifei, how dare you cuckold me, you bitch. Hu Lifeng pointed at me and my childhood sweetheart with a smug expression, saying, elder brother Xiaoping, what did I tell you? Your wife and your younger brother have been carrying on behind your back. Jiang Xiaoping roared in fury. Jiang Shaoan, how dare you sleep with your sister-in-law? I lunged forward and slapped my husband across the face with all my might. Jiang Shaoan, have you lost your mind? He's my husband, your brother Jiang Xiaoping. Jiang Xiaoping stared at me in disbelief. Chen Feifei, look carefully. I'm your husband Jiang Xiaoping. That's my younger brother Jiang Shaoan impersonating me. I scoffed. Stop playing dumb. I've been married to Xiaoping for over 2 years. You think I wouldn't recognize my own husband? Besides, brother Xiaoping's still wearing our love token around his neck. You claim you're the real Jiang Xiaoping. Where's your proof? My husband froze. What love token? In 2 years of marriage, when did you ever give me one? In my past life. My husband never consummated our marriage, once when drunk. He held me while calling out his childhood sweetheart's name. I knew his heart belonged to another, until he faked his death to elope with her. This jade pendant remained undelivered all along. I've consummated my marriage with Jiang Shaoan in this lifetime. Of course I'd give my token of love to Jiang Shaoan. To my shock, I realized I'd mistaken someone's identity. I mistook Jiang Shaoan for my husband. My husband completely panicked. He came over and immediately tried to grab my hand. Feifei, stop making a scene, will you? I admit it was wrong of me to fake my death for the insurance money without telling you first. I sincerely apologize, but I did it for our family's sake. Think about it, that's 10,000 yuan in compensation. I make just 167 yuan a month digging coal in the mines. How many lifetimes would it take to save 10,000 yuan on my wages alone? No matter what, this compensation money was earned for our family. I won't blame you for mistaking Shaoan and consummating the marriage, but this compensation money, I'm taking it. Watching Jiang Xiaoping's greedy eyes and Hu Lifeng's expectant face beside him, I suddenly laughed. Jiang Shaoan, you took your brother's place working at the coal mine. Now the mine has declared you dead, and the local police station has already cancelled your household registration. Legally, you're already a dead man. What right or standing do you have to come back and claim this compensation? 5. Do you dare to step forward and tell people you're actually alive? Jiang Xiaoping froze for a moment before everything suddenly clicked. You're in cahoots with Jiang Shaoan. You're trying to steal my identity and claim my death benefits. I grabbed Jiang Shaoan's arm and took 2 steps back, smirking at my husband. So what? Didn't you bring this upon yourself? You're the one who faked your death to claim compensation. And your parents begged me to let your brother inherit both family lines. Now that I've obeyed your parents and consummated the marriage with your brother, why are you suddenly upset? Jiang Xiaoping's breath came in ragged gasps as he glared at me and Jiang Shaoan with pure hatred in his eyes. Our parents just mentioned it casually, but I never thought you'd actually, with my brother. Chen Feifei, out with it. Have you had your eyes on my little brother all along? I crossed my arms and sneered at him. Takes one to know one. Weren't you already cozying up to your childhood sweetheart, planning to fake your death, scam a huge compensation payout, and run away with your childhood sweetheart? Jiang Xiaoping, since you're determined to fake your death and elope with Hu Lifeng, just go. Shaoan and I will let you 2 lovebirds have your way. Little did they know Shaoan and I had already seen through their death-faking scheme. My husband and his childhood sweetheart froze for a moment, but soon his tone was the first to soften. Feifei, even if Lily and I have wronged you and Shaoan, since things have come to this, why don't we just go with the flow? What exactly are you proposing? Jiang Shaoan demanded coldly, clutching Hu Lily's hand. My husband declared with righteous conviction. However you look at it, that 10,000 yuan death benefit was obtained through my faked death. Now that my household registration's been revoked, I've lost all rights to the family homestead and farmland back home. The house and land belong to you now, but Lifeng and I will be taking this compensation money with us. Also, with Mom and Dad getting older and us unlikely to visit often, we're entrusting their care to you. Clap clap clap. I raised my hands and gave him an applause. You dumped the 2 elderly folks on me and Shaoan while you took the money and women to live it up in the city. Jiang Xiaoping, you've really played your cards well. Having hit the nail on the head, my husband turned pale and snapped back at me. Then what do you suggest? My household registration's already been revoked by you people, with no money in hand. How am I supposed to grease the wheels and get a new identity? I shrugged. Your problem, not mine. Legally speaking, my childhood sweetheart Jiang Shaoan is already deceased. Make a scene, and I'll call the cops. Care to guess who the police will come for first, you or me? My husband turned deathly pale in an instant, cold sweat beading on his forehead. At this moment, it finally dawned on him that his carefully staged death might have backfired. 6. Hu Lifeng burst into loud sobs, clutching her belly before collapsing to her knees with a thud before her in-laws. Father, mother, even if Xiaoping made mistakes, he did earn this family a full 10,000 yuan. I'm carrying Xiaoping's child, your Jiang family's firstborn grandson. How could you bear to see our family of 3 homeless, without household registration, forcing our child to live as an undocumented outcast? She spoke through sobs, kowtowing to me repeatedly. Sister-in-law, I know Xiaoping and I wronged you, but the child is completely innocent. I'm begging you, please give us that 10,000 yuan, won't you? That's money Xiaoping literally risked his life for. Seeing the woman he loved kneeling on the ground, kowtowing to me with loud thuds, my husband flew into a rage. Chen Feifei, are you really trying to drive me and Li Feng to our deaths? Mom, Dad, how can you just stand by and watch while Li Feng and I can't afford household registration? Do you want your own grandson begging on the streets? Mother-in-law's heart ached so much that tears streamed down her face. Father-in-law also looked stern as he commanded me and Jiang Shaoan, hand over that 10,000 yuan to Xiaoping and Li Feng immediately. You're staying in the hometown with free room and board, and no children to raise. You don't need much spending money, since Xiaoping and Li Feng can't return to the village, and they'll have many expenses raising a child in the city. Consider this 10,000 yuan as compensation for them. The mother-in-law nodded repeatedly. Xiaoping has already given you his parents and family home. What more could you possibly want? Hand over the money right now. Also, since our second son married his sister-in-law, the dowry your father and I prepared for you should go to Li Feng instead. These betrothal gifts were meant for her all along. I always knew my in-laws favored their son, but I never imagined it'd be to this extent. If this is how you play dirty, don't blame us for fighting fire with fire. Jiang Shaoan and I exchanged glances, pretending to let them enter to fetch the money. My husband was terrified that villagers might discover his fake death. If someone reported this to the coal mine authorities and the police caught him, he'd definitely face prison time. Seeing Jiang Shaoan and me back down, my husband quickly signaled Qingmei with his eyes and hurriedly pulled his parents into the room. Jiang Shaoan and I brought up the rear. The moment the last person entered, we slammed the door shut with a metallic clang and turned the lock. Help, thief, someone catch that thief, damn thieves. My childhood sweetheart's body isn't even cold yet. And they're already stealing his death compensation. Sobbing uncontrollably, I rushed into the village chief's house. Now the whole village knows about the mining accident in my family and the hefty compensation from the coal company. With such a large sum of money, it's no surprise thieves would come sniffing around. When the villagers heard that Jiang Xiaoping and I had caught the thief and locked him inside, the whole village came running to see the spectacle. The village chief called some neighborhood watch members to open the door, but the elderly couple burst out and desperately blocked the entrance, refusing to let anyone in. Weren't we told the thief was caught? Where is he? The villagers craned their necks in confusion, peering into the room. The mother-in-law flew into a rage, spreading her arms and shouting, "Who's the thief? This is my son's house. I'll come and go as I please." The father-in-law, afraid others would discover his son and childhood sweetheart inside, smoothed things over. Just a misunderstanding. It's late. Everyone should get some rest. With a cold laugh, I scooped up 2 geese from under the eaves and shoved them through the window. Hu Lifeng had been attacked by geese as a child. Terrified at the sight of the 2 flapping birds charging straight for her, she froze in panic. So what? With a shriek, Hu Lifeng instinctively leaped into her husband's arms. What was that noise? Could that be Xiaoping's little mistress? Sensing drama, the villagers swarmed forward, pushing aside the elderly couple standing at the doorway. The moment I stepped inside, I saw Qingmei clinging to my husband like an octopus, impossible to peel off. Holy shit, Shaoan, you're alive. Caught red-handed by the villagers, my husband turned pale then flushed with embarrassment, left with no choice. He had to admit he was indeed Jiang Shaoan. Just then, a villager suddenly asked the question on everyone's mind. 7. Shaoan, since you're alive, can your family keep that 10,000 yuan compensation from the mine? After shooing away the nosy villagers, the village chief said meaningfully to the in-laws and husband, in a village where gossip spreads like wildfire, there's no way to keep Shaoan's survival a secret. You'd better decide quickly. Will you turn yourselves in at the police station, or go confess to the coal mine? Return the money you owe them. After the village chief left, My husband clenched his teeth and suddenly dropped to his knees before me and Jiang Shaoan. Fei, Shaoan, I'm begging you, give Lily and me a way out. Jiang Shaoan asked coldly, what do you want? Her husband said with a crazed expression, there's no other way, we have to run. Fei, give me that 10,000 yuan, I'll take Lily and leave tonight, rest assured, once you hand over the money, Li Hua and I will never set foot here again. No one will expose Shaoan's true identity, and you two can remain lawfully married for life. Jiang Shaoan chuckled. What nonsense are you spouting? Shaoan, I'm your elder brother Xiaoping. My wife and I have always been legally married. Her husband froze momentarily before his expression twisted into something vicious. Are you all trying to drive me to my grave, to kill Li Feng too? Is that it? I deliberately comforted him with passive-aggressive sarcasm. We're family, Shaoan. That you survived the mine disaster and came back safely, your brother, your parents, and I couldn't be more relieved, since it was all a misunderstanding. Just return the money to the mining company. Shaoan, you should stay in the village and farm, marry Li Feng soon, we can't let her unborn child become undocumented, can we? The moment I mentioned farming, my husband completely lost it. No, I won't go back to the village, I won't farm. Chen Fei, are you doing this to get back at me? You just don't want me to take that 10 grand and give Li Feng a better life in the city. I laughed. Jiang Xiaoping, only realizing this now. Did it ever cross your mind, faking your death behind my back, scamming that huge compensation from the mine, then planning to run off with your childhood sweetheart to live large in the city? Did you ever consider how I'd survive in this village with the stigma of being a husband killer after your staged death? What if the mine discovers your fraud, can't find you, and comes after me for the money? What then? Since you've shown no mercy first, don't blame us for returning the favor. Shaoan, tell the coal mine crew to come out now. At those final words, while his parents still looked confused, her husband's face turned deathly pale in an instant. He scrambled to his feet and bolted for the door. Just a second too late, several burly security guards burst out from the woodshed next door. They swarmed over and pinned my husband firmly to the ground. With a metallic click, the handcuffs snapped shut. It's over. The mother-in-law collapsed onto the floor. The father-in-law rolled his eyes back and fainted on the spot. Li Feng lunged forward like a madwoman, desperately clutching her husband's arm. Xiaoping, you can't leave. What am I supposed to do with your child growing inside me if you leave? She turned to glare at me viciously. Chen Fei, I've already given up my man for you. Why won't you just leave Xiaoping and me alone? I strode over and delivered a stinging slap across Li Feng's pale cheek with a sharp crack. Did I ask Jiang Xiaoping to fake his death? Did I tell you two cheating scumbags to elope? Li Feng, heaven sees everything? The misery you're suffering now is divine retribution for what you've done. With a thud, Li Feng collapsed to the ground, clutching her stomach with a dazed expression. Our entire family was taken to the police station by the mine's security team under suspicion of large-scale fraud. Jiang Shaoan and I had no intention of hiding anything. We came clean and confessed everything in full detail. Back in the 90s, a fraud case involving over 100,000 yuan was already considered a major crime. Acting on a tip-off, the police mobilized overnight and swiftly apprehended several coal miners who, like Jiang Xiaoping, had faked their deaths to secretly return home and claim compensation benefits. Since we weren't involved in the fraud and had voluntarily reported the case, Jiang Shaoan and I were released shortly afterward. My in-laws and Li Feng were temporarily detained by the police for their involvement in my husband's fake death insurance scam. A few days later, the in-laws returned to the village with a sallow-faced Li Feng in tow. The moment they got back, my mother-in-law charged at me furiously, raising her arm to slap me. I instinctively leaned back in a defensive dodge, nearly giving the old woman a back sprain. The mother-in-law plopped down on the ground, slapping her thighs and wailing, "Come see this, Chen Fei, you shameless hussy, your husband's been arrested, and instead of helping him, you're sleeping with your childhood sweetheart. Mark my words, if Xiaoping ends up in prison, I'll make you pay for this. 8. I'll make sure every soul in this county knows about your filthy affair. Let's see how you'll show your faces in public after this." Hearing my mother-in-law's words, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders as I glanced at Jiang Shaoan. In that moment, I realized the last shred of affection Jiang Shaoan held for his parents had been severed by his mother's own hand. After my mother-in-law's dramatic scene at our home, Jiang Shaoan and I packed our bags the next morning, ready to seek work in the city. When my in-laws heard Jiang Shaoan and I were leaving, they rushed over in a panic. My father-in-law turned livid and scolded us. "With all the family troubles right now, your eldest brother still detained in jail, instead of figuring out how to help him, you're just leaving. Do you even care about this family or your parents anymore? My mother-in-law plopped back onto the ground, hurling the same vicious insults at Jiang Shaoan and me as she had yesterday. Jiang Shaoan let out a bitter laugh and addressed his parents and the gathered villagers. You all heard that, didn't you? It's not that I don't want to stay in our hometown, it's that my own parents won't leave Fei and me even a shred of dignity to live with. With that, Jiang Shaoan knelt down and kowtowed 3 times before his parents, each bow striking the ground with audible force. Father, mother, you told me to carry on both family lines by being with my sister-in-law, and I obeyed. You said if my elder brother went to prison, I'd be driven out of this village too, so I complied. I'm taking her away now. Keep this house for my brother and Li Feng. We won't need it anymore. From now on, you 3 are the real family. Neither she nor I will ever return to burden you again. My in-laws were completely stunned by the time they came to their senses. Jiang Shaoan and I were already on the bus to the city. It wasn't until 2 months later that I heard news about my husband and his childhood sweetheart again. My husband was sentenced to 10 years in prison for committing large-scale fraud by faking his death. After her husband's verdict was announced, Hu Lifeng reportedly ignored her in-laws' desperate pleas. She decisively went to the hospital and terminated her pregnancy. Then, under her family's arrangement, she hastily married a man who just lost his wife. Rumor has it that during the wedding ceremony, her former in-laws caused a huge scene. In the chaos, a flying stool hit my father-in-law square in the forehead, causing immediate heavy bleeding. During a scuffle, my mother-in-law accidentally fell into a large soup pot, suffering extensive burns over her body. Since my husband was already serving time in prison, the hospital had no choice but to call me and Jiang Shaoan. To our shock, by the time we reached the hospital, my father-in-law had already passed away. Grandma suffered severe burns all over her body. The doctors said further treatment would be futile, urging us to say our final goodbyes. Lying on the hospital bed, she was completely wrapped in bandages soaked with yellowish bodily fluids. The ward reeked of decaying flesh. When Jiang Shaoan and I entered, a desperate will to live suddenly flashed through her clouded eyes. Shaoan, Fei, save me. Jiang Shaoan shook his head. The doctors said the burns cover too large an area. There's nothing more they can do. 9. Tears streamed down the old woman's face as she stared intensely at me and Jiang Shaoan, making her final request. I smirked inwardly. Your elder brother has had a hard life. After I'm gone, the house, the land, the savings, give everything to your brother. Jiang Shaoan nodded, took my hand, and turned to leave. An hour later, the hospital informed us that Grandma had stopped breathing and her heart had ceased beating. After bringing my in-laws' ashes back to their hometown, Jiang Shaoan and I left the small village. The next time we returned to our hometown, a decade had already passed. So much has happened over this past decade. In this lifetime, Jiang Shaoan and I gained foreknowledge of many future opportunities. Seizing the moment, we used our first pot of gold earned from canteen contracts at construction sites. We started by flipping properties, and after amassing substantial capital, we established our own real estate development company. Over a decade, our assets skyrocketed from a few $100s when we first arrived in the city to billions. We became a moderately successful real estate developer in the local market. We also invested in lucrative future industries like home appliances, mobile phones, and internet ventures. These 10 years brought marital bliss with Jiang Shaoan, and we were blessed with a son and daughter, the perfect good character in Chinese tradition. When the township heard my parents had become successful entrepreneurs, they repeatedly invited us to invest in our hometown. Coincidentally, Shaoan and I also wanted to help lift our hometown out of poverty. On our return day, not just township officials but even county and city leaders rushed to welcome us enthusiastically. In the crowd, I thought I glimpsed the figure of my ex-husband Jiang Xiaoping. The villagers all started talking at once when I returned, filling Shaoan and me in on everything that had happened to our family over the years. That's when we learned my ex-husband had been released 3 years early for good behavior in prison, though his freedom turned out to be worse than imprisonment. After his release, he discovered his parents had caused a scene at Hu Lifeng's wedding to get justice for him. They had both passed away during those few days he was imprisoned, but Hu Lifeng didn't fare any better either. Her reputation in the village was already ruined after her affair with her future brother-in-law and the resulting illegitimate child. Then during her wedding, her in-laws showed up and caused a huge scene. The groom's family felt humiliated and cancelled the wedding on the spot in a fit of anger. With this, Hu Lifeng became completely unmarriageable. Even her own family found her disgraceful and kicked Hu Lifeng out. left with no options, Hu Lifeng actually picked the Jiang family's lock and moved in, claiming to be their daughter-in-law, being too lazy to work yet too fond of good food. Hu Lifeng had been carrying on questionable relationships with men from the village and nearby town for years just to get by. Villagers often spotted different men hastily adjusting their trousers while sneaking out of Hu Lifeng's house at dawn. The absurd part was when her ex-husband returned home only to find Hu Lifeng still living in his house. He'd actually believed she'd been waiting faithfully for him all these years. Just 2 days later, he caught Hu Lifeng and her lover in the act at his own place. The ex-husband made a scene and tried to hit Hu Lifeng, but ended up getting beaten badly by her and the lover. After the fight, Hu Lifeng lit a post-coital cigarette and sneered, "If you're gonna live off women, at least have the decency to act like it. You're living off me, eating my food, and still dare to question who I sleep with. If I didn't sleep with men, where do you think our daily bread and fancy meals come from?" Her ex-husband loathed Hu Lifeng with every fiber of his being, but he also knew his criminal record made him unemployable. He couldn't tough it out doing farm work back in his hometown. And so, this star-crossed couple who'd once eloped for love, though now wishing each other dead, found themselves shackled together by necessity. Hu Lifeng needed her ex-husband's house. The ex-husband needed Hu Lifeng to be his breadwinner. Years later, Hu Lifeng contracted a venereal disease and died at home. Unable to afford treatment, with no one to support him, her ex-husband had to work the fields like other villagers during harvest seasons. In the off-season, he took odd jobs as a construction laborer, collected scrap, did whatever work came his way. Word got around that Xiaoan and I had returned, now billionaires. My ex-husband lurked in the crowd, staring at us with greedy eyes, his face twisted in regret. In that moment, it suddenly struck him, what if he hadn't faked his death to elope with Hu Lifeng? What if he'd chosen to build a life with me instead? Would he be the billionaire standing by my side now? A bad wife ruins 3 generations. At this moment, Jiang Xiaoping finally understood the truth behind this old saying, but alas, it was all too late. With layers of protection from bodyguards and police, he couldn't possibly get near me or Xiaoan. As we were leaving, Xiaoan and I sat in the car, faintly hearing shouts coming from behind through the window. At that moment, we were discussing new investment projects for our hometown with city government officials. Those regret-filled cries eventually faded into the wind. A few days later, we received a call from our home village telling us, Jiang Xiaoping, acting completely deranged, leaped into an abandoned mining pit back in his hometown. The pit was bottomless, with dozens of meters of stagnant water. There was absolutely no way to retrieve him. The village asked us what should be done. Xiaoan and I exchanged a glance before saying with a sigh, "Then let's call off the salvage operation." 10 years ago, Jiang Xiaoping orchestrated his own fake mining accident. A decade later, he truly died in the very same mine where the incident occurred. Guess that's karma coming full circle. The end. Story 2. Jiang Wan was a medical prodigy, yet also battled depression. I became a doctor to save him, while he took his own life for his first love. When I returned to being 18, I began distancing myself from him, but this only made him resentful. I asked him, "You know I've had a crush on you since we were kids, right?" He dodged the question. "But I can't live without you. Can't we just stay best friends?" I laughed. "Jiang Wan, you don't deserve me." 1. At age 32, Jiang Wan won a world-class medical award. That night he went to receive the award while I decorated the hotel room, waiting to celebrate his return. Instead, all I got was news of his suicide. The room was pitch dark, amidst the scent of freshly cut roses. I vomited violently until drenched in cold sweat. My entire body felt like it had been dragged from water. Endless self-blame wove into a suffocating net, trapping me in its grip. 2 years ago, after countless failed experiments, Jiang Wan suffered another emotional breakdown. He kept replaying scenarios in the dark room, even talking to himself. Then suddenly he rushed to the kitchen, grabbed a fruit knife, screaming, "Give it back to me." While threatening to kill someone, he seemed to be confronting an invisible foe, yet the blade was pointed at his own chest. The moment I saw him grab a knife on the surveillance feed, I immediately climbed over from my balcony into his apartment, but I was still a second too late. The blade had already sunk into flesh. Jiang Wan, freeze. He wore gray loungewear, his slightly overgrown hair partially obscuring his eyes. His slender frame carried an air of sickly fragility. When he turned and saw me, his face was filled with bewildered helplessness. I approached him slowly, took his hand, and gently urged him to release his grip on the fruit knife at his waist. whether pushing it deeper or pulling it out, either action would only worsen the situation. After calming down, he apologized to me. "I'm sorry, it's okay." Pressing a towel around his wound, I looked up with a forced smile and asked, "Did you forget to take your meds again?" "I didn't mean to." He wiped the tear from my eye, gazing intently at me. "Has it been too hard for you?" "No need to thank me. I'm just terrified of losing him." Clutching his slender fingers against my cheek, I begged, "Jiang-Wan, please don't die. I'm begging you." "Okay." He didn't answer, only told me not to cry. Perhaps from that moment on, the answer had already taken root in my heart. In the end, I couldn't make him stay, too. Though Jiang-Wan suffered from depression, withdrawn, cold, and difficult to approach, his professional prowess was unmatched, making him the driving force of the entire team. It was because of him that I chose to major in biology in college. Later, I genuinely fell in love with the subject. The sense of accomplishment from overcoming each challenge became my driving force to persevere. But Jiang-Wan seemed to harbor an almost pathological obsession with conquering this disease. After 5 years of relentless effort, he actually succeeded. On the day the Phase 3 clinical trial succeeded, he smiled a genuine smile for the first time. His crimson eyes glistened with wild euphoria as he crushed me in a desperate embrace. "Xiaomi, I won." For that fleeting moment, I truly believed he could be mine. Soon after, Jiangju received a call informing him that he'd won the International Medical Award. Before boarding the plane, he was visibly distressed, muttering about running out of time, thinking he was having another episode. I immediately gave him his medication while reassuring him, "Jiangju, there's still time. The experiment succeeded. We'll have plenty of opportunities to prove it." As he gradually calmed down, a hint of sharp sarcasm flickered through his upturned eyes. "Will we really make it in time?" I assured him firmly. "We'll make it." Only when I glimpsed his secret did I realize how ridiculous I'd been. I returned to my homeland alone, carrying his ashes. Returning to Jiang-Wan's place to sort through his belongings, the white shirt on the couch still carried his scent. I hung the dry-cleaned overcoat in the wardrobe. The desk was littered with his handwritten drafts, stacks of research materials, lab equipment. I've sorted everything out piece by piece, until I saw the name written on the back of his scratch paper, Chen Tang, layer upon layer, the ink bleeding through the page. I lost it. 3. I smashed open Jiang-Wan's locked drawer and uncovered the secret he'd kept hidden his entire life. From their high school graduation photo, he'd neatly cut out Chen Tang's portrait alone. Inside the drawer lay an audio tape, preserving the thoughts he'd recorded since turning 18. Little did I know, during his glorious youth, he had harbored such a humble, unrequited love for someone. He chose biology for one reason alone. Chen Tang suffered from a genetic disorder. All these years, I mistook his relentless research to cure this disease as mere genius obstinacy. But everything he did was to save her. His too late remark came when Chen Tang was rushed back into emergency care. He'd steal to her hospital door at midnight, praying to God not to take her away. He frequently consulted her attending physician about her condition. For years he'd loved her in secret, without her ever knowing. The day Chen Tang died was exactly when Jiang-Wan went abroad to receive his award. Rumor has it he took a phone call after accepting the prize, then jumped to his death. This was a lover's suicide. The moment I uncovered the truth, I completely fell apart. Jiang-Wan's obsessive love for Chen Tang turned me into a complete fool. How could he do this to me? I hate myself for not uncovering the secret sooner. I wonder what Jiang-Wan was thinking when he watched me cry for him over and over, living in constant fear of losing him, unable to sleep night after night. If only once he'd told me plainly that he didn't love me, that I was just like a sister to him, I wouldn't have been trapped in this delusion all this time. The love I once felt for him has turned to equal measure of hatred. I didn't attend Jiang-Wan's funeral. I locked myself in the room, silently weeping from dawn till dusk, drowning my aching heart in alcohol. The pain is unbearable. I can pay the price for my own affections, admit I loved the wrong person, and bear the consequences. But I can't just walk away overnight from a decade-long relationship, nor can I forgive his years of deception. Jiang-Wan's betrayal hurt me as deeply as killing my soul. Jiang-Wan destroyed me twice. The first time was his death. That was his secret. I hated his guts. 3 months later, my severe depression made me unable to work, and I was hospitalized for electroconvulsive therapy. During the 12th electroshock session, I completely blacked out from the excruciating pain. She departed this world carrying a lifetime of bitterness and regret. 4. To my astonishment, when I opened my eyes again, I'd somehow returned to my 18-year-old self. I couldn't even tell whether I'd crossed into another realm after death or simply awakened from an extraordinarily vivid dream. My deskmate Song Ning threw an arm around my shoulders, eyes sparkling with excitement. Xiaomi, what birthday present did you prepare for Jiangwan? Sitting in the private lounge Jiangwan had booked, seeing my former high school classmates felt like revisiting a lifetime ago. It was winter break during our senior year. When I remained silent, Song Ning opened the bag beside me. Wow, this is obviously hand-knitted by you. That silver gray totally suits His Highness Jiangwan. My eyes welled up with tears as I looked at the scarf. While sorting through Jiangwan's belongings, I found this scarf he used to wear so often. He never cared for me, yet made me feel so special with his feigned affection. How cruel. The bar lights suddenly went dark, leaving only the spotlight on stage. Jiangwan, a young man in a crisp white shirt and black trousers with ramrod straight posture, sat at the piano and began playing Secret. It was his favorite piano piece. I once asked Jiangwan, why do you love this composition? He said, no reason, I just like it. Now, I understand everything. Chen Tang was the secret he could never speak aloud. Watching his familiar yet distant figure, my heart grew still as water. Love doesn't vanish overnight. The moment I discovered his secret, during those 12 electric shocks, my love for him had already died. My gaze found Chen Tang in the crowd, quietly watching the stage in her beige sweater. Her eyes held tender affection. My 18-year-old self might have missed it. But now I understood in an instant. She liked him too, so it was never Jiangwan's unrequited love alone. Theirs was a mutual crush. 5. In his past life, on Jiangwan's 18th birthday, he rented out an entire lounge bar and invited the whole class. Song Ning said Jiangwan was being coy, too shy to celebrate with just me. That's why he invited everyone. I used to believe that too, but now, I see things clearly. I picked up the gift bag and slipped away unnoticed. Just as I reached the doorway, I heard Jiangwan's voice, cool yet choked with emotion. He said, I like you. Amid the classmates' teasing cheers, I distinctly heard the name he called out afterward. Chen Tang, I love you. Chen Tang. The next moment, deathly silence fell over the entire room. This never happened in my past life. Everyone used to think Jiangwan and I were childhood sweethearts, inseparable and destined to be together. They all assumed his sudden academic dedication in sophomore year was to get into the same university as me. The whole world believed he had feelings for me, but his heart never belonged to me, and I wasn't the one he wanted to confess to. I couldn't help but glance back. I wanted to see his happy expression. I've seen too many desperate looks on his face, witnessed his stitched-up corpse, yet never beheld his genuine joy. Under the lights, Jiangwan's elongated eyes curved upward, rims reddening as he fixed an unblinking stare at Chen Tang below the stage. Love for someone can't be hidden, nor can happiness. Surely he'll have no regrets left in this lifetime. Jiangwan, if this is just a daydream, then I'm returning your dream to you. I don't want to know why Jiangwan suddenly confessed. I don't care anymore. At this moment, even my hatred for him has faded. I slowly closed the bar's door, stepping foot by foot in the snow. The cold was so bitter it stung my eyes. It's not me who's sad. One last time, I'll cry just one last time, not for anyone else, just for the brave and sincere person I used to be. His not liking me doesn't mean I did anything wrong, nor does it mean I'm not good enough. I did nothing wrong. I'm fine. When I reached the back alley, I tossed the scarf into the trash without hesitation. I lost track of how far I'd walked or where I was going, until my legs gave out and I ended up crouching by the deserted roadside. Snowflakes began drifting down from the sky unnoticed. They landed on my skin with a biting chill. My blurred vision gradually came into focus. Hearing faint footsteps, I looked up to see Shinchong standing tall in his black puffer jacket, holding a black umbrella over my head. There was something odd in his gaze, like someone awakening from a beautiful dream with lingering regret. 6. Shinchong, Jiangwan's former psychiatrist. Before my death in the previous life, I asked him, did you know Jiangwan had someone she deeply loved? After a long silence, he replied, I can't disclose patient confidentiality. I remembered how he tried to snap me out of my daydream, but I refused. Unlike his previous aloof persona with gold-rimmed glasses, the current Shinchong wore no spectacles and still carried a youthful air. I stared at him in confusion. At this point in time, we shouldn't have met yet. Why is he looking at me like that? Then it hit me. Every time I accompanied Jiangwan to the hospital in my past life, the way he'd look at me and the things he'd say, I just felt so embarrassed. He'd known all along. He knew I was just a lovesick fool, yet never had the decency to tell me straight. Talk about professional integrity. I felt wronged without justification. He did nothing wrong. and I had no right to lash out at him. I stood up to leave, but my legs had gone numb from squatting too long, and I twisted my ankle. Just as I was about to fall, someone grabbed my arm, losing my balance. I stumbled right into their arms. "Careful," he said with a slight tremble in his voice. "Mind your own business. I don't even know you." He said nothing, simply placing the umbrella in my hand. "I'm sorry," an ill-timed apology, utterly baffling. I watched his retreating figure. What an odd fellow. After gathering my thoughts from this rebirth, I followed my memories back home. The house felt eerily quiet. After my parents divorced and started new families, I began living alone. My father left the house to my mother and me. When she remarried, I chose not to join her new household. I was already an adult and perfectly capable of taking care of myself, so I stayed behind alone. My mother visibly sighed in relief at that moment. "It's fine, I was never close with them to begin with, so I don't feel lonely." My parents met through a matchmaking arrangement and got together when they reached that age. Both had their own careers and neither wanted to compromise. Too busy with work to care for me, they hired a nanny instead. The nanny was neglectful, and as a kid I just lost myself in video games. No one bothered to rein me in. Those two who couldn't even make time for parent-teacher meetings suddenly found all the time in the world to blame each other for my poor grades. Then they turned on me, fired my nanny, smashed my computer and game console, cut off my allowance, and locked me out on the balcony as punishment. Jiangwan wasn't having it easy back then either. Fresh from losing his mother, his relationship with his father was like a drawn bowstring. He'd often hide on the balcony with his Walkman, playing cassettes his mother had loved. His father wanted a divorce, but his mother refused. One night, she drove out to catch him cheating and got into an accident. She never came back. From then on, Jiangwan resented his father, turning rebellious, skipping school, getting into fights, and watching his grades plummet. We were like two stray kids nobody wanted, growing up side by side. When he was punished by standing on the balcony, I'd pass him food from mine. When he got hurt in a fight, I climbed over the balcony to bring him medicine. When he ranked last in class, I unknowingly compiled his mistake notebook, never suspecting he was pretending to be a slacker. On New Year's Eve, when he smoked alone on the balcony, I kept him company from mine. At midnight, I'll light sparklers to wish him a happy new year. He called me childish, yet still prepared red envelopes for me. Ah, just memories laced with daggers, not worth holding on to. I've sorted through all of Jiangwan's belongings, all those birthday gifts he gave me over the years, the comic books he left in my room. After packing everything away, I ran into Jiangwan returning home. As I came downstairs, I avoided his gaze and tossed the items into the trash, but Jiangwan followed me. "What did you just throw away?" he asked casually. I can't be bothered to answer. He asked me again, "Why did you leave early? Are you upset?" I dodged him and headed for the stairwell. "Xiaomi, what's bothering you? Even if Chen Tang and I end up together, we'll still be friends, won't we?" 7. I sighed, wondering what if I'd discovered his secret before he died in our past life. I would have made a scene like a madwoman, screaming and fighting with him. Thank goodness that didn't happen. Fortunately, I can now face him with enough composure. "Jiangwan, I won't be upset no matter who you date. That's your own business and has nothing to do with me. I'm not interested in being friends with you anymore. You're smart enough to ace exams effortlessly, but I can't. I don't want to waste any more time on you, nor let you affect my studies, so please keep your distance and stop bothering me." I thought I'd made myself perfectly clear, but as I turned to leave, he grabbed my wrist so tightly it hurt. Frowning, I turned back to him. "Jiangwan, what do you think you're doing?" His expression was unreadable in the dimly lit hallway. "Was I disturbing your studies? Then why didn't you say so before? Why only today? I've wanted to tell you for a while. I just didn't know how to bring it up." "You're lying." I feel so drained, completely clueless why he's suddenly acting this way. It's not like he's short of friends without me anyway. "Jiangwan, stop being so self-centered all the time. Try considering others' feelings for once. I have every right to end this friendship." I steadily pried his fingers loose one by one before turning to walk upstairs. After getting home, I found my phone and dialed a number I knew by heart. "Professor Zhang. I'm sorry to bother you, but there's something very important I need to discuss, please." After that day, Jiangwan and I gradually grew apart. That winter break, I was busy reviewing high school coursework. Song Ning mentioned that Jiangwan took Chen Tang to Jay Chao's concert. Fuming, Song Ning swore she'd make him regret it, but I couldn't care less. How could he ever regret someone he'd risk his life for? But he still managed to put me in a bad mood. I shook my head, hung up on Song Ning, and went back to cramming. School started right after winter break. Jiangwan and Chen Tang made no effort to hide their relationship, whether during lunch breaks or between classes. They were always glued to each other. Jiangwan would patiently tutor her, fetch hot water, buy meals, wait to walk her home after evening study sessions. During the spectacle, classmates couldn't help but look at me with pity, but I couldn't care less. I chose a different university's biology department. Determined to sever all ties with Jiangwan, after school that day, while I was working on the final problem of my math test, I suddenly sensed a shadow looming over me. I looked up to see Chen Tang standing there, hesitating to speak. With a guilty expression, she handed me a cup of bubble tea and murmured, "I'm sorry, you've done nothing wrong to me. There's no need to apologize. The milk tea's still warm. Please take it." "No thanks. I'm good." I gathered my papers and stood to leave when she rushed after me, insisting I take the drink. I pushed it away. She lost her balance, stumbling backward over a chair. Just as she was about to fall, I reached out to steady her, only to be shoved away violently. My abdomen slammed into the corner of the table, sending a sharp, searing pain through me. Jiangwan's furious voice cut through the air. "Misha, are you out of your mind?" He held Chen Tang tightly in his arms. She hastily explained. "It wasn't Misha. I just tripped on my own." Jiangwan kept yelling at me relentlessly. "Don't you know she can't get hurt? Are you trying to kill her? Misha, if you've got a problem with me, take it out on me. Leave her alone." A surge of anger welled up inside me. What do I care if she gets hurt? If you're so worried about her, stay the hell away from me. I'm not part of your little game. I don't have time for this cheesy soap opera. Get lost. With that, I slipped out the back door. Faint murmurs of Jiangwan coaxing someone drifted from behind. "Are you hurt anywhere? Does it hurt?" What a lunatic, acting like the protagonists of some romance novel, seeing everyone else as the villain. I was studying at home when a sharp pain gradually grew in my abdomen. Lifting my shirt, I found a dark bruise. Doesn't look like anything serious. In the early hours, I started vomiting and having diarrhea, my stomach cramping in pain as cold sweat drenched my body. I crawled out of the bathroom, trembling as I dialed emergency services before collapsing onto the floor. I lost track of time until I faintly heard someone calling my name. "Mia, wake up." 8. I opened my eyes to see Jiangwan's panicked face. The balcony door had been opened. Just as I was about to demand why he'd broken into my home through the balcony, he suddenly scooped me up in his arms. The paramedics were knocking but got no response. "I was worried something happened to you, so I came in through the balcony." He carried me all the way to the ambulance downstairs and held my hand as we got in together. I tried to pull away, but didn't have the strength. At the hospital, I was diagnosed with acute gastritis. I sat in the chair receiving N4 drip while he sat beside me, too exhausted to argue. I just leaned back against the chair with my eyes closed. His hand cradled my neck, the icy fingertips sending a shiver down my spine. "Resting against me will be more comfortable." I frowned and pulled away. "Don't touch me. How much longer are you going to keep this up? I'll let the breaking and entering slide, but if you don't want me calling the cops, keep your hands off me. You disgust me." I didn't look at his face, just closed my eyes again. My stomach kept aching, and I really wasn't in the mood to argue with him. I drifted back into a groggy sleep and didn't feel better until 7 in the morning. Jiangwan never left my side. "I called in sick for you. Just stay home and rest today." I didn't respond. Carrying my medicine, I walked out of the hospital entrance, hailed a cab, and ignored Jiangwan following behind me. Yet as I got into the taxi, he slipped in from the other side. "Let's go home together. We're heading the same way anyway." His tone carried a hint of appeasement. I remained silent. He was still trailing behind me when we reached my doorstep. Before unlocking the door, I turned around wearily and said, "Jiangwan, even if this happens again, don't show up in front of me. I don't want to see you. Is it just because I'm with Chen Tang that you hate me so much? What did she ever do to you? Or did I wrong you somehow? I didn't mean to push you yesterday. I was terrified something might happen to Chen Tang. She's not like us. Even a minor injury could be life-threatening for her. I was just panicking. If you're angry about that, I apologize." It finally dawned on me that Jiangwan had been dodging a particular question all along. He just wanted to brush past it and keep being friends with me. The audacity of this man. So I looked straight into his eyes and asked, "Do you like me?" Jiangwan lowered his eyes, clearly unwilling to answer. "Jiangwan, do you like me?" I persisted stubbornly. Even though I knew the answer, I needed to hear him say it himself. "I don't, but I can't live without you. I don't want to lose you as a friend. Misha, can't we just stay friends? Why must you force me to choose? Is the condition of our friendship that I can never be with anyone else?" He looked at me with accusation in his eyes, as if I'd done something unforgivable. How could Jiangwan say those things when he clearly knew I had feelings for him? Jiangwan. You don't have to be despicable to survive. I could forgive you for ignoring my feelings before, but now, I don't like you anymore, and I don't want to be friends either. This has nothing to do with Chen Tang or anyone else. It's my choice. I choose not to see you again. I never asked you to choose between us. You're the one who kept pushing me. Even if you stay single forever, things between us will never go back to how they were. Do I make myself clear? Why? Because you're not worthy. 9. After returning home, I locked the balcony door. As I lay drowsy in bed after taking the medicine, I noticed what seemed like a figure standing in the corner outside the balcony, casting an elongated shadow on the ground. I realized I never truly understood Jiangwan before my rebirth. Even after rebirth, I still couldn't comprehend him. Why would he fear losing me? Didn't he already abandon me completely when he jumped for another in our past life? Wasn't losing me his own irreversible choice? Why does it suddenly feel like I'm the villain here? The school anniversary celebration fell exactly 100 days before the national college entrance exams. At the evening gala, Chen Tang and Jiangwan performed a piano duet of Secret from the movie. The audience of students started cheering and teasing them. I remembered the recording Jiangwan left on that cassette tape, back in sophomore year. He was still the school's notorious bully, during an off-campus fight. Chen Tang happened to pass by and saved him, only to get injured in the process. Carrying the bleeding Chen Tang to the hospital, he held her like fragile porcelain. That moment marked the beginning of his secret crush. A teenager's love arrives with unreasonable intensity. Chen Tang had always been the model student in class. Even someone like him felt insecure, believing he wasn't good enough, so he stopped pretending. He began studying seriously and stayed out of trouble. When I first heard the tape's contents, I trembled with rage. Now my heart is utterly calm. After the college entrance exams, I chose a university in the south, a complete departure from my previous life's path. Barring any unforeseen circumstances, Jiangwan and I will never see each other again in this lifetime. I wasn't going to attend the final class reunion, but Song Ning practically forced me into going. The teacher turned a blind eye to students drinking alcohol. Jiangwan and Chen Tang were seated directly across from me. Song Ning sat beside me and whispered in my ear, "Did you know Jiangwan and Chen Tang applied to the same university?" "Don't know, don't care. At first I thought you were just swallowing your pride and pretending. But turns out you genuinely don't give a damn. Well, college will be full of hot guys anyway." I clinked glasses with her. "If not, that's perfectly fine. May your future be even brighter." The toasts kept coming. And I ended up drinking more than I should have. Before long, my stomach started acting up. I excused myself to the restroom to throw up, then decided to leave early. Stepping out, I saw Jiangwan leaning by the hallway window, smoking. He raised his gaze, looking at me with profound intensity. "Misha, come here." 10. I let out a soft chuckle, as if he was calling a dog. At his beck and call, dismissed with a wave, I waved my hand dismissively and walked toward the elevator at the far end. Heading downstairs, as I reached the hotel entrance, Jiangwan came running after me. He reeked of stale tobacco, and though I tried to avoid him, he kept closing in. "Why choose a university so far away? Didn't we promise to attend the same one?" The summer night breeze brushed by as I contentedly squinted my eyes. "Because I want to, and I'll go wherever I please. That's my freedom. None of your business." Then came a long, heavy silence. I opened my eyes to Jiangwan's sulky expression and flashed him a smile. "We've been estranged for half a year. Haven't you adjusted yet?" "Jiangwan, your withdrawal period is unusually long." He paused briefly before replying. No to what? My ride arrived, so I didn't press further. Before getting in the car, I called out in his direction. "Jiangwan, we've been together since childhood. You're just not used to it yet. But we'll inevitably go our separate ways, eventually. We'll each have our own careers, our own families, then gradually lose touch, sooner or later fading from each other's lives. You'll get accustomed to a future without me." I loved him so deeply, yet still learned to live without him after his death. What's so difficult about it for him? Don't be so hard on yourself. "Goodbye, Jiangwan." I leaned back in the taxi seat and closed my eyes. The driver suddenly said, "That young man is chasing the car." Should I stop? No. I won't stop for him anymore. I have my own life to live, my own regrets to bear. At dawn the next day, I boarded the southbound bullet train. Before leaving, I snapped my SIM card in half and replaced it with a new one, keeping only Song Ning's contact. In my past life, she'd urged me countless times to leave Jiangwan, yet I'd drifted further from her instead. never again will I be so blind as to lose my dearest friend. That year, a major scandal rocked academia. A professor at a Beijing university uncovered an academic fraud case. 16 years ago, a landmark foreign study on a genetic disorder was exposed as fabricated. That's why our experiment ultimately ended in failure in my past life, becoming the greatest regret of my existence. When I discovered the truth, my world completely fell apart. It meant we'd wasted 5 years pouring fortunes and endless effort into futile work. All our so-called achievements were hollow. And not a single patient was actually saved. Jiangwan took the glory with him in death, leaving us survivors to bear the full brunt of the backlash and disgrace. After Jiangju's betrayal, I suffered a career-ending blow that shattered me completely, plunging me into severe depression. I considered starting over, but couldn't survive the electroconvulsive therapy. On the first day of my rebirth, I immediately told my former professor. Fortunately, driven by academic integrity, he rigorously tested the thesis through countless experiments, ultimately uncovering the truth. A revelation born from despair yet carrying newfound hope. This time, I pray we can save countless Chentangs before it's too late, not for Jiangwan's sake, but for every patient. 7 years later, just before my graduation, I received Song Ning's wedding announcement. As I was about to leave, an earthquake struck my city. When the quake hit, Jiangwan climbed over from the neighboring balcony into mine, bursting in and holding me tight, just like he used to in our youth. He said, "Misha, I love you." None of us made it out in time. Later, we were buried beneath the rubble. In the darkness, he held me in his arms and spoke endlessly. He said, "I thought you'd always stay by my side. I believed no matter how awful I acted, how worthless I became, you'd never leave me, but you just walked away. You threw out the scarf I gave you, discarded everything that reminded you of me, abandoned me. Misha, I regret everything. I can't lose you. I don't want anything else, just you." But I couldn't face you. I was terrified of hearing you say you didn't want me anymore, petrified you'd truly fallen out of love. So after graduation, I secretly moved here, lived next door while avoiding you. Misha, I've missed you so much. If not for this earthquake, I'd never have found the courage to see you again. I never want to lose you again. He said, "I like you." In the dim light, I recalled Eileen Chang's Love in a Fallen City. The fall of Hong Kong ultimately brought the protagonists together. When my city crumbled, Jiangwan told me he liked me. How ridiculous. When we were finally rescued, he was still gripping my hand tightly. Jiangwan injured his leg protecting me. I decided to make peace with him. He wronged me in our past life, and now he's paid me back in this one. I left before he was discharged from the hospital. Song Ning postponed her wedding for me. After attending her ceremony, I returned to my hometown for the first time in 7 years. To my surprise, the cactus on the balcony was still alive, even blooming with tiny yellow flowers. "Jiang, why must you do this to yourself?" I waited at home for 2 days until Jiang finally showed up, a broken man with bloodshot eyes. Limping as he walked, with red-rimmed eyes, he asked me, "Are you really leaving me?" I extended my left hand, showing the ring on my 4th finger. "Jiangwan, I actually got married during my 2nd year of grad school. Just never mentioned it to anyone because we were swamped with work and never got around to holding a wedding banquet." "You're lying to me, Jiangwan. It's always been you deceiving me. I've never once lied to you, but I've never seen you bring anyone home." I let out a sigh. Since he's studying abroad, we don't get to see each other often. This past year, I've been the one traveling overseas to visit him. Jiangwan looked utterly devastated. He pleaded, "I was wrong, so terribly wrong. I regret everything. It's you I love, always have been. I just didn't realize it. I swear I'll never lose you again. You're all I want, Misha. Please, don't leave me. You're all I have left." He dropped to his knees, wrapping his arms around my waist. And I felt his tears soaking through. It's too late. He's a despicable, cowardly, greedy wretch, doomed to forever chase what he can never have. "Have you also been reborn? Is that why you won't forgive me?" He rasped out. The moment he confessed to Chen Tang at 18, I knew Jiangwan had been reborn too. That's why he's rushing to make up for the regrets of his past life. I chose to step aside for him, but if he chose Chen Tang, why is he having second thoughts now? He's always full of regrets, never satisfied with any choice he makes. Same story in his past life, same story now. Jiangwan is just too greedy. "Jiangwan, I should go now. He's still waiting for me downstairs." I slowly pushed Jiangwan away, leaving him alone in the darkness. "You know I'd die without you, Jiangwan. Your life belongs to you alone. No one but yourself is responsible for it, so don't try to guilt trip me. Even if you truly choose to die, I won't grieve anymore. I've already shed all the tears I owed you. I owe you nothing, never did, you owe me nothing either, we're even now, let me go, and set yourself free too. 12. When I reached the ground floor, Shinchong was waiting by the car, finished talking, I nodded, he walked toward me and pulled me into a tight embrace, his whole body trembling. Mr. Shen, where's that confidence of yours? You were quite the charmer when pursuing me. Shinchong whispered in my ear. I wish it had been me by your side when the earthquake hit. It's alright, this matters. I don't want you to be alone. I've applied for early graduation and I'm never leaving again. Misaki, let's get married, whatever you do. I'll support you, take care of you, and love you. Okay, I kissed my lover's cheek. I'll support you too, take care of you, and love you. I always thought meeting Jiang Chong was pure coincidence. It wasn't until many years into our marriage that he finally told me. The day it snowed that year, his meeting me was no accident. One day, he had a dream. In the dream, he was Jiang Wan's psychiatrist, and through their sessions, he learned of my existence. Every time he accompanied Jiang Wan to therapy, he wanted to tell me the truth, but bound by medical ethics, he ultimately chose silence. Later on, he pieced together an image of me through Jiang Wan's words, growing increasingly intrigued until he unwittingly fell for me, but before he could confess, I passed away from electroconvulsive therapy. After my death, he attended my funeral as a stranger. When the dream ended, he remained trapped in its aftermath. The blade had sunk deep into flesh. On that snowy day, he held an umbrella for me. After graduating, he chose to pursue psychology graduate studies at our university and began courting me when I was a junior. He wanted to give up studying abroad, but I wouldn't let him. After completing his postdoctoral studies abroad, he returned home and never left my side again. I once asked him, did you ever think it might just be a dream, all an illusion? What if you couldn't find me? He replied, if I didn't go looking for you, I'd probably regret it for the rest of my life. Others might think he's crazy, but I know he truly lived with that regret once before. Shinchong, I won't let you live with regrets anymore. At 29. I won a world-renowned physiology and medicine award when our research team made a breakthrough in genetic disease studies. After that, I never heard anything about Jiang